As we've worked with 10 to 20,000 small businesses across America, we have clearly identified how you go through the evolution of a small business. The first thing we've identified is there are 5 distinct stages of business. The treadmill operator, where too much of the business relies on you. The pathfinder, where your lack of clear direction is what's holding you back. Then you move on to trailblazer. You lack the leaders and the plan to scale the business. One of the sweet spots is the 4th one, peak performer. And that's where your business can become too comfortable because you become very successful. And the last of the 5 stages is the legacy builder stage. And that is where you start to do what our last caller's doing. You're trying to figure out your exit. And are we selling it? Are we passing it to family? What's the plan? Now, while you're going through these 5 stages, you have 6 different areas that drive the business, some more so than others in different stages, but they're all present all the time. The 6 different stages are personal because you're the lid on your business. John Maxwell talks about that, the leadership lid, he calls it. And you're the problem. You're holding it back, but you're also the solution because you can fix this problem. Personal growth. The second driver is purpose. The business is bigger than the bottom line. What is driving this? What's our mission? What's our purpose? The third driver of business that causes business to grow and succeed is people. Building a unified team, a team you can delegate to, a strong culture. Then when you got the right people, you can actually start executing the plan. And that's strategic thought, budgets. It's executing a plan, detail. Winning is an intentional act. It doesn't occur on accident. Then and only then can you really work on the actual product. Delivering the excellence of the profits will take care of themselves. And the last of the 6 drivers is profit, and profit does occur. It's a natural byproduct of personal growth, having a clear mission and purpose, having the right people, the right plan, which leads you to the correct product, and profit will be a byproduct of that. And then you'll go through it again, and you'll get better at each, and then you get better at each, and then you get better at each, and then you get better at each. Probably one of those 6 drivers, one of the areas that gives people in particularly small business the biggest fit is the people driver. Business is easy until people get involved. And then you've got to deal with crazy and drama and sadness and betrayal and thieves and whatever else. All the negatives, but you also get the great blessing of getting to work alongside warriors who will also paint their face blue with you and fight the king until he goes down. Fight the enemy, fight the dragon. And you get this great band of brothers and sisters with you, and it's worth it. So I determined several years ago in writing EntreLeadership and then in teaching this material for many years that this hiring thing is a big deal. You can't delegate the Kentucky Derby to a donkey. You have to delegate the Kentucky Derby to a thoroughbred. And so you can hire the wrong people, and you can't do delegation. You can hire the wrong people, and you'll have crazy in your building, and you can't get nothing done with crazy. Crazy takes up a lot of air. You can hire the wrong people, and they simply don't have the gray matter to execute the job. They don't have enough brains to do it. You can hire the wrong people and spend all your life messing with issues and problems and lawsuits and idiots. They're everywhere. It's crazy, y'all. And you can hire the right people, and you get a band of brothers, a band of sisters, a band of warriors that will fight any dragon. And they can do things you never dreamed that could be done. They know things that you don't know. I've never written a line of code. I have 400 people on our web and tech team. And I don't know what any of them do. It's wonderful. They're so talented and so smart. And the only thing I know is it works when they do it. I like that. That's a good thing. I hired the right people. We at Ramsey have become very good at hiring. So we look at 12 different things. The 12 steps to a good hire, they're not actually steps. They're just things we do. Steps would mean they would be progressive. We call them the 12 steps to a good hire, but it's not. We're not 12 steppers. That's not what we're talking about. And there's no addiction here except I'm addicted to donkey avoidance. That's it. That's the whole thing. So the 12 steps to a good hire, if you want a copy of this sheet, just hit the show notes and we're going to put it in there. It's free to you. But I'm going to walk through it for a second just because it's such a big deal. This people driver in the different 5 stages has different issues with it, but man, you can't delegate until you get the right people. You can't create culture until you get the right people. You can't get production at the level you want it until you get the right people. It's everything. So we're Christians, so our first step is prayer. Lord, you ask us to do this work. Please send us the right people. And Lord, keep your crazy children away. Because, Lord, some of your children are nuts. And he knows that. And he knows who belongs here and who doesn't. So I'm asking him for help. The second thing we do is we get referrals. Internal referrals. If you have people on your team that are thoroughbreds, at this stage of my life, I've got 1,100 people on this team, and somewhere around 1,100 of them are thoroughbreds. So it's all there. So guess who thoroughbreds run around with in their off time? Guess who they go to church with? Guess who they know in the industry that they're in? Other thoroughbreds. They also can identify a donkey and avoid them because they don't want to work with donkeys. They're a thoroughbred. So they're not going to refer donkeys into the organization because they'll have to work with them. And they like working with thoroughbreds. Thoroughbreds and donkeys in the same barn creates a mess. You frustrate the donkeys because a thoroughbred's very presence will reveal a donkey's donkeyness. And just by being in the barn with them, you go, oh, that's a donkey. And you might not have noticed it if it wasn't standing beside a thoroughbred, but now the thoroughbred's there, so they don't mix well. And donkeys don't like thoroughbreds because they expose their donkeyness. Thoroughbreds don't like donkeys because donkeys are donkeys. They don't do nothing. They don't care. They sit around and go, well, the boss is an idiot, and I'm going to not work much, and I'm a quiet quitter, and all this other bull crap. All right? And so you just don't want to deal with that. So you want your thoroughbreds to bring you other thoroughbreds. We pay $500 cash to a team member that refers someone who goes through the interview process, gets hired, and stays 90 days. And I stand up in staff meeting and count off $500 cash, and I have everyone that's getting it stand up, and they've got $500 cash in their hand, and all 1,100 people count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, while I peel off those Uncle Benjamins so that we make a visual, emotional representation that referrals matter, and your opinion, if you work here, on someone else coming to work here is a $500 opinion. We think it's awesome. We get some of our best people from our best people. That's how you hire. Number 3, the 30-minute drive-by interview. Quit doing 2-hour initial interviews. It's a waste of time because you know in the first 6 minutes on some of these people, you're not going to hire them. You know when you walk up to them at the front desk and they hadn't even opened their mouth yet, you're not going to hire them. You just looked at them and went, you're kidding. You dressed like that for an interview? No. What, you fall in a tackle box? I mean, what's wrong with you? You come in here, this is not a coffee shop. This is a business. Have you got no sense? This is crazy, y'all. So, don't spend 2 hours interviewing with this. There's no need, okay? Spend 30 minutes, and besides that, they're not going to get hired. You're not going to make a good decision in the first interview anyway. You're going to do more than one interview. And my old HR director, because I'm horrible at this, I would spend 2 hours selling you on how wonderful this place was because I'm so fired up about this place, knowing the whole time I wasn't going to hire you, but I just can't keep you. I got to make you want it anyway. It's just a salesman in me. I'm awful at it. So my first HR director taught me this, and it really helped me. 30 minutes. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's your ratio. You should listen 20 of the minutes and talk no more than 10 minutes, and do not let this interview go 31 minutes. Have a little ding goes off on your phone and end it. Oh, I'm done. I got to quit. It's over. Gong, right? And they may walk out going, these people, but listen, you're going to know a whole lot in the first 30 minutes, and you haven't wasted so dadgum much time. So that's your first one. You're just trying to figure out, are they going to fit in around here? Are they, how are they, they may tell you something, you go, you've got to be kidding. Why would, no. Or they may tell you something that go, hey, that's very interesting. I do want to talk to this person further. And, just close it up politely and ask, would you like to come in and talk some more if we decide to go forward? Absolutely. Or no, I think I'm good. We had one lady, we were explaining our core values, and she hung up on them. She just hung up in the middle of the interview. It was a Zoom interview, and she just quit right then. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. She decided we're nuts, and we're like, oh, that must have been an accident. No, it wasn't an accident. She just done, and she didn't even have the common courtesy to say, it's not for me. I'm going to go ahead and cut off now, but thanks. I mean, 10 seconds would have added a whole lot to her class, but she didn't have that class. So that's I thought it's pretty funny. It's great. But that's exactly what you're looking for. Number 4 is resume and references. Complete waste of time. People lie on resumes. And if you're not smart enough to set up your references to say good things about you, your parents are cousins. Seriously. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, of course, references are set up. We check them anyway because occasionally somebody's too dumb to tell the people to say nice things about them. And if they're that dumb, you don't want to hire them. So we check the references anyway. But if you say, my high school teacher, if I call your high school teacher and they go, God, is he still a drug addict? Well, we don't need to hire you because you didn't even tell them to say nice things about you, right? Number 5, we do some testing tools. We like to look at those things. We love the disc profile. We sell the disc profile. We use it here. It's on everyone's workspace. So when I walk up to talk to Austin, our producer, I can look at it. I can see what his disc profile is, and that tells me how to communicate with him. It also helps me figure out if you're going to be in the right seat somewhat, not necessarily, but somewhat. Like an example is on the DISC, the C is a high detail person. That's a good fit for an accounting position, an engineering position, a dev position. High C is a good, high detail people, okay? They're a good fit for that. And so, high I is a party looking for a place to happen. They're big people pleasers. They love humans. They run around in circles and are distracted by squirrels, and they're wonderful people. I'm an I a lot. I do that a lot. I love being entertaining and fun and hanging out with people. It's one of my favorite things. But you don't want an I doing your accounting. That'd be a disaster. Because, it'd be bad. So you want to kind of think about that. So run the disc profile on them, and you can buy it in bulk from us. It's very inexpensive to do. The number 6, do you like the person? This is a small business. You are under no obligation to spend close quarters time 5 days a week, 40 hours a week with somebody you don't like. You're not under any obligation to do that. And if they come in and they've got some political agenda that's the opposite of yours, and they're going to be a loudmouth about it, you don't put up with that. As an example, okay, or they're just an abrasive personality, or they're, if you just really don't hire them. You're under no well, they're really good at their job, yeah, but you don't like them, and you're going to spend all your time with somebody you don't like. That's dumb. Don't do that. Number 7, do they light up when they talk about the position? Are they fired up and passionate about it? That's a big deal. Number 8, we have them do a personal budget, not because we're Dave Ramsey, but because we want to make sure they can live on what we're paying. Because as soon as you hire someone who can't live on what you're paying, regardless of what you're paying, you could be paying $200,000, they need $250,000. You could be paying $90,000, and they need $120,000. If they can't live on what you're paying, 100% of the time, within 120 days, you're going to be a greedy jerk boss who underpays people because they're financially stressed because they took a job they can't live on. And it's going to be your fault. It is your fault. You shouldn't have hired them because they can't live on what you're paying. You have a responsibility to pay people what they can live on and not hire people who can't live on what you're paying, because you're putting them in an untenable position. They're going to be unhappy, and they're going to gripe about you, and then you're going to be shocked. Well, don't be shocked. I predicted it right here, just now. Number 9, compensation calculation, benefits, policy reviews. We go over all that stuff in the interview process, of course, and people need to know that. But let me tell you, if they lead in the 30-minute interview, the first question out of their mouth is, how much y'all pay? How's your benefits? How much time I get off? They're there for what they can take, not what they can give. They're a taker, not a giver. Don't continue the interview. So if the first thing out of their mouth is what they're going to get, it's a valid question. But if the first thing out of their mouth is what they're going to get, you're never going to make these people happy, because they're there for what they can get from you. They're not there to add value. Number 10, have a clear job description. We call it a KRA, a key results area. If you do these 3 things, you're winning. If you don't do these 3 things, you're not winning in this job. Is this a job that sounds fun to you? Number 11, famous for this, get a lot of criticism for this, don't really care, spousal interview. Everyone that's hired here, the final interview is you go to dinner with the leader of that area and their spouse and you and your spouse. And you just have dinner. And you just talk. No big test. The spouse is not being tested, nothing like that. But your spouse, in my case in the early days, my wife Sharon, is probably not going to talk a lot. She doesn't talk a lot at these things. She just sits there. But she takes everything in. And then when we're driving away, I ask her not what she thinks, but I ask her, how do you feel? Because Sharon's from the hills of East Tennessee. And the word feeling is a 7-syllable word. She has a feeling. If Sharon has a bad feeling, we don't hire you, because her bad feelings are 100% accurate. She never misses. And she almost never plays that card. 1 time out of 100, she'll say, I don't feel good about this guy. I don't feel good about that girl. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe they're just supposed to be somewhere else. Maybe they're a bad person, but I can't tell you what it is, but I don't feel. Every time I violate that, I get crazy in my building. And I got to deal with a donkey because I didn't listen to my wife. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain. I would submit to you that Dave Ramsey in the last 30 years has had no lack of gain. My gains have been mind-blowing. It blows my mind when I look at it. And if you were looking in from the outside, it should blow your mind. My gains are amazing because I've got a virtuous wife, and I actually want to know how she feels about a hire or any other major decision before we make it. And I've made some really good decisions because of that. And I used to do everything without talking to her. Oh, huge mistake. Because, see, the preacher said, and now you are one. So now you have one brain. And when you do it without talking to your spouse, you're only using half your brain. See, that screws up the whole formula. The last thing is, when you do get hired, we, the company, are on a 90-day probation. We're onboarding 6 new team members this week. I talked to them this morning. They were in the onboarding. I sat down and talked to them. I will talk to them on Monday morning when they came in, introduced myself. Then I went and sat in their first hour of onboarding this morning. And the company is on probation. You're asking yourself in the first 90 days, do I fit in here? Is this a good decision? Did I do the right thing? And you're on probation. We're asking ourselves, did we make a mistake bringing you in here? Is this a right hire? And we have had people in the first 3 weeks working here go, I made a mistake. And they hit eject. And that's, you know what, that's better than putting 2 years of investment into you. I don't like hiring you and then you eject. That means we made a bad hire. Somebody didn't do a good job in the interview process, but I would rather have you eject in the first 90 days than in the first 9 months. It costs us less. It's less because you don't really do anything that's of value in the first 90 days. The first 90 days, the amount of good you do versus what you're being paid is out of balance. Your value actually comes later when you learn what the flip is going on. You got to figure out where the bathroom is before you can do anything. I mean, it's just, you got to figure out how things work around here before you can do anything. It takes a little while. So a 90-day probation. That's the 12 elements or steps of a good hire in the people driver of the 6 drivers that lead you through the 5 stages of business. If you go to EntreLeadership.com or if you click on the show notes, you'll be able to download this, and it'll give you a kind of an outline of what I just talked about, let you get an idea of what's going on. You can develop your own, but these are the ones we use. These are some of the things we do. We do a few more things nowadays, but that's kind of hardcore around here, most of those things.